Okay, I'm going to slide into, because I want to get Michael on here. His time is limited. And I'm going to slide on in here to the news update, such as it is. All right, so here's what we have. We know TNT Tony, who, do we trust him? Not entirely. Do we not trust him? Not entirely. We kind of trust him. He knows some people. Tony knows some people. I'm not sure they're telling him the truth, but he does know people in positions of authority. And he said that he was told it was going to go at 5 p.m. Eastern yesterday, which is midnight for April the 1st in Iraq. It did not happen, at least as far as we know. That didn't happen. The process, as I understand it, is still that IMF and BIS have to release Iraq to enter their revaluation codes. There's a specific name for the codes, but they have 1 to 3 hours to do that. If they do not do that, then it can be forced by the three-letter agencies, and they're not necessarily inclined to do that, although they can. So we don't know. We do not know if Iraq has entered their codes. We've been told all these other codes have been entered to get this whole thing going. Now, a strong rumor came out last night that Tier 4B folks had been getting paid. Now, that I don't know that I can verify that. I can verify absolutely that I know of Tier 3 bondholders who were paid not only their bond funds, but in some cases, currency funds. They were paid out on two currencies, dinar and dong, which are the two that are qualified as of now, absolutely qualified to revalue their currencies. They've met every benchmark that needs to be met to revalue their currencies. I'm not so sure about other ones like the Bolivar and so forth. We're just not sure about that. So we're waiting for confirmation on that. I do not have any information to the effect that Tier 4B people are being paid out. They were described to me as Tier 4B whales. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's no whales in Tier 4B. There's just you and me, average currency holders, people who, are going to do quite well in this investment, or this, not investment, that's the wrong word to use, but we're going to do quite well in this situation. But we're not what would be considered whales, who have enough money to really make huge changes, like, I don't know, go to the moon or go to Mars or something like that. So if anybody is a very, very well-placed person, they would be a Tier 4A person. They would be someone who has already exchanged their currency and received an SKR, and are supposed to get notifications yesterday or today. I have no confirmation on any of that. I will tell you this. I know of 3 people. I do not know them personally, but I know someone who does know them personally, so it's hearsay, but that are waiting today. They are waiting to have their funds released today, and these are currency exchange funds.
The difference between redenomination and revaluation. Redenomination is when they don't change the value. They just print bigger bills because you've lost so much purchasing power. That's when they redenominate. Or if they redenominate the other way. In other words, coming down because it's picking up purchasing power. What if IQD undergoes redenomination, not RV? It wouldn't increase the purchasing power. The white paper reforms have been very clear. They want to lift the purchasing power and the exchange rate. They've been very clear. There is, I don't think there's a shortage of probably 1,200 articles on that out of Iraq over the last number of years. They've been very clear. They are not redenominating. They're lifting purchasing power. They are going to strengthen the dinar against the dollar. I have not been able to find a rate in the budget other than the official rate, but I was able to find the mechanism for changing the rate in the budget. Once again, that alone is unusual. If there wasn't a chance of a considerable rate change, why would they put a mechanism into the budget to allow for a rate change? Chances for the next week are pretty solid if what I'm hearing out of the bond side is any kind of accurate. And I know that they believe it's accurate, and I've talked to a number of bond sources that very much are working towards and in the process. Now, whether or not the sovereigns distribute the funds for that's going to be the question. I'm very much on the edge of my seat this week, waiting. Is the shoe going to, which shoe is going to drop? The good shoe, the bad shoe? I've heard a few have been picked up by military and taken for Zim. I wish I knew what to tell you forever, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have taken a few to test, prime the pump, check the system. Heard a few some bond facilitators have been paid. That I feel very comfortable because I know some that have received dollars. Not all of them, though. So making heads or tails of why they're rolling it out the way they're rolling it out, that's a little different. Freedom Fighter, I don't know who Freedom Fighter is, said that Zim's not going to be worth anything, that he was told by a banker. Yeah, then there's a lot of bankers that told you that Kuwait's currency wasn't going to be worth money either. We'll see. Zim is one I would not have bet on personally if I didn't know a couple of paymasters, attorneys that helped close some really big business deals for my business partner and I years ago. And they are extremely connected. They put together $1 billion deals every day of the week. And they're the ones that said, no, get it. It's real. We're helping to aggregate it. So I got some. Figured it was worth rolling the dice. Risk versus reward. I did have one other note here. I forgot to go. Have you noticed that like Iraqi government websites have had all kinds of issues and been down? Gazette been down for some time. Almost makes you wonder if they're about to hide something in plain sight.
Hey guys, how are you? So today is the 2nd of April, 2025, and it is almost 9 a.m. Okay, I just received a bit of intel, the latest update as to the rollout of the medbeds. Okay, so as it stands right now, those who receive humanitarian funds and those who are 5D New Earth people will be offered treatment in the medbeds, will be invited to use the medbeds, along with your immediate family members. Okay. Now, immediate family members can live with you or not, but they have to be blood relatives. Okay. Now, the only person that is excluded from that immediate family, and there will be a limit, okay, they didn't say how many, those family members have to actually need treatment. So not, healthy people, but actually need treatment. So myself and my brother would be excluded from that. We don't need treatment, we're healthy. Okay, but my mum does, right? So if you have a family member that's in a wheelchair or has trouble with day-to-day life, that's not genuinely healthy, then they can use the med beds. Now, I asked about marital relations. So if you receive the humanitarian funds or you're a 5D New Earth person and your child or you or your child is married to someone who needs assistance, needs healing, then that person is eligible for healing, but not their family, only them, okay? Only them. Now, anyone who receives medbed treatment before the medbeds are disclosed to the public will be under an NDA. They will be required to sign an NDA at the time of booking your appointment. Okay. Now, this goes for animals as well. So when you book your appointment, you can also book your animals at the same time, and there will be an NDA. Anything to do with medbeds or healing chambers, you will be under an NDA until the beds are made public, and then you'll receive an email that your NDA is no longer valid. Right. Crap, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. You cannot share the phone number or the details on booking your appointment. Okay? If you receive it from the Alliance, it stays with you. You cannot give it to someone else, not even a family member. All right? So basically, how it's been explained to me, when I ring up and book my mum's appointment or my appointment, just say I'm booking my own medbed appointment, I can also book my mum's appointment as well because she lives with me. Okay? I can book her appointment. I could even book my brother's appointment because he lives with me and he's well aware of what's going on. If one of your family members do not live with you, then you will need to give the medbed team their contact details, and the medbed team will contact them to set up their appointment. Okay? You will need to give the medbed team their details to set up their appointment. Those contact details of you ringing up cannot be given to anyone. They're not for anyone else's eyes except yours, who has received it directly from the Alliance. Now, this is because medbeds are technically still classified military technology and still very heavily guarded. They don't want the contact details being circulated, okay, handed from person to person to person. That is a massive security risk, not only to the centre itself, but everyone involved. Patients, staff, visitors, you name it, massive security risk. And I said, what if somebody did pass it along or said I had my med bed, or I've got my med bed, or gave the address of where to go, or the time and whatever? They said they would forfeit not only theirs, but also anyone related to them would forfeit their med bed treatment and be put to the back of the line after all the public has gone. So the start of the second round of med bed treatments. Okay, so really, really, really important. You do not share those details under any circumstances. They also said you cannot give up your place for someone else who you think needs it more. If you give up your place, that person will not have their treatment. So you will miss out. Okay. What else did they say? I think that's it. So you'll be under a very strict NDA until the beds are made public. You cannot share the booking details, or you cannot speak that you've had your med bed. Oh yeah, if you have someone that is your direct family member but doesn't live with you, you have to tell them about the med beds and explain to them about the med beds before giving the med bed team their contact details. If the person doesn't know about med beds, they will not be contacted. Okay, the med bed team is not going to sit there and explain about the med beds. All right, you must tell your family about the med beds so they are already fully aware of what's going on and to expect a phone call. Okay, otherwise they won't get a phone call if they're not aware of it. Or if they do receive a phone call and they say, sorry, what's this? Never heard of it. They'll just say, my mistake, and they'll hang up. And then that person, your family member, will not get their med bed treatment. Okay, so that is actually a requirement of you telling them about it and explaining the whole process to them. Okay. So my advice, knowing now that we are 100% going to be under an NDA with everything regarding med beds, my advice now is to look at your social situation and your living situation. And if you live with people, tell them about it. I would make plans to leave the med bed centre and go to another town, go on a holiday, whatever. That's what I would be doing, or go stay with family or something. Basically, you will not be able to go back to your job. Literally, you won't be able to go back to your job because you will look differently. Okay? So you need to be creative. You need to really think about it, and to start looking at motels, hotels, holidays, all kinds of different things with your family. If you have young children, or, you know, your children, if you can't stay in your location because people will think, oh my God, someone's broken in or something like that, you need to start thinking about this, okay? If you've got kids that go to daycare, they probably won't be able to go to daycare, okay? You definitely won't be able to go back to your job if you work in an office or somewhere that people actually see you. This is really, really important, okay? You will be under a very strict NDA, so I suggest you really think about this, okay? All right, everyone, take care. Bye.
Yes, I just had a fantastic question being asked about New Zealand. I don't know if it was part of the actual last intel that I did give. For those who are in New Zealand, the story was that there is one major centre in the North Island and one major centre in the South Island. That is yet to be confirmed. Just hold on to your seats and we will see what happens with there. As for the boulevard and things like that, there's been some issues, obviously, about what I have said. As I said, it was information that was given regarding us here in Australia. It does not mean that it is going to be the same in every country. As I have always said, what we hear out of the US is for the US. Please make sure that you understand that very clearly. Every country has different dynamics and different situations and geographical locations that needed to be attended to. That is what I have been told. And it makes logical sense as well. But as for the boulevard, if it isn't part of an actual unsanctioned currency in some countries, I was actually surprised myself that even the Iraqi dinar here in Australia was going to be available for the redemption and exchange. As I said, this is a moving target. There is misinformation, disinformation. It is no reason to be concerned or issued. As I said, I personally believe that they will all still go at the same time, but I was sharing information in a private group. Well, obviously that private group doesn't know how to keep things private either, but that's another story for another day. The thing that I wanted to make clear about the boulevard is that regardless of how it is paid out or what it is being paid, whatever the rates are going to be, focus on the prize, ladies and gentlemen, please. As I said, that was information that was to be shared in a private group. Somehow or other it was leaked and I saw it in RV Highlights, so therefore it was no longer private. So I added to it regarding the credit unions and that's similar to us here in Australia are called building societies. But stop focusing on all the little nitty-gritty stuff, yeah? Because I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you're actually spoiling it and bringing vibrations down for those in other countries around the world. Those in the US have a set plan pretty much in motion. Okay, and the reason for that is because you have the most currency holders. For the rest of us, we need to know what is going on in our country, hence why Mayhem with Mel has always done extra for extra countries such as the UK, Canada, South Africa, and many other nations across this beautiful world. So please, I would appreciate the slandering and the backstabbing that goes on in many, many chat rooms. I have actually seen and been inside a redemption centre. I will give credit where credit is due, but I will not tolerate the comments of that I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever. That's a polite way of saying what they were saying, but that's irrelevant. But my issue is that no matter what happens, ladies and gentlemen, focus on the prize. For now, Mayhem with Mel. See you all on the flip side. Bye for now.
Been happening. Man, there's been a lot going on, some of which I was privy to this past week, and some of it I was not. But generally speaking, I have a pretty good idea of where we are and where we're going. Now, to correct something that I said on last Thursday's call, I believe it was, my in my mind calendar was off. And now that we know today is Tuesday, the 1st of April, that means tomorrow, which is Liberation Day, is the 2nd of April. And Liberation Day is going to mean a lot for us, I believe, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But tomorrow being Wednesday is also the first Wednesday of the month, and therefore it's a Social Security day for people with early birthdays in the month, because they set your Wednesday up based on what your birthday is throughout your birth month. And so that means now the 2nd, which is tomorrow, is Wednesday, and then 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd would be your first 4 Wednesdays for Social Security. Now, what I'm hearing, and Jeannie always reminds me about Social Security and R&R, Social Security increases are supposed to happen this month. And I believe they will occur on the Social Security Wednesdays. And I'm the last Wednesday of the month, so I never find out until Mine will be the 23rd of April, but we should be in pretty good shape before that occurs. But there's been discussion as to whether the Doge payment for Social Security recipients would occur into their Social Security bank accounts, I'm calling them, and whether that would be an increased amount, which we expect it to be quite substantial. And it may be that the Doge payment, which is supposed to start in the next 2 or 3 days. You got Liberation Day tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which should be what? The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of April is when we expect Doge payments to come out. Now, it could come as a separate payment or as an additional amount, increasing your Social Security benefit if you're receiving that now. And everybody gets it by direct deposit, as far as I know. Now, some people may get it by paper check. I don't know. I just know everybody that I've talked to gets it all by direct deposit. So that could be increased as early as tomorrow for the early Social Security recipients. We've got Doge kicking in, and they're calling it, oh gosh, I don't know. They're calling it Doge dividend or Doge payment, something to that effect. I don't even know if the word Doge will be in there. But the theory is that the additional amount is coming from savings that Elon Musk and his team have found by going through all the waste, fraud, and abuse of all of our, and they haven't done all of our programs yet, all of our parts of government yet. But what they've done so far, it looks like they're going to save quite a bit, allow the government to save quite a bit of money, spending foolishly and fraudulently to people that are over 113 or 14 years old, and all kinds of stuff. You guys have seen, I'm sure, some of the Doge information. But we've got that starting. And then we also have what we're hearing about the R&R is if you have exchanges to do and if you have Zim to redeem at the Redemption Center, that you should have your R&R, the Restitution and Reclamation Allowance, or I've heard it said Restitution and Reconciliation Allowance, that may be the actual proper wording of it, that you'll have that at the Redemption Center, either in your quantum account that is ready to be set up and activated by you when you go in. It's either there or it will be there after you do your exchange and you go to check it out. It's an amount that could be substantial. I mean, it could be very high for certain people. The older you are, the more likely that it's a greater amount. The more taxes you paid, the more interest you paid on mortgages and credit card debt and bank loans and car loans and all that stuff. All of that is going to be in that one-time lump sum payment for R&R. Now, I've heard different things on the Doge payments for how long it'll go, how it's being combined with Social Security, how essentially Social Security could get renamed something else. I'm not sure. I can't really. To me, it's up in the air. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen this month. So don't be shocked if you see an amount in your bank account that's a lot higher from a Doge payment, especially in conjunction with your Social Security. They are using the same algorithm that they pay Social Security with to use for the Doge. So we'll see how it actually comes out. It's just, I've heard it 3 or 4 different ways, so I'd rather not put it out. Similarly, I have heard that when we move our funds, remember when we have our quantum account set up, which we'll do that as part of our redemption appointment and our currency exchange, when we do that, we'll move money for the first 6 months that we need. We'll move that into our primary Wells Fargo account. And then it's up to you to estimate what you want, what you think you'll need to put in that account to last you for 2 months, 60 days, 2 months. Then on the 63rd day, I don't know why 63, 63rd day, you're supposed to have access to all of it so that you can move it, without asking them to allow you to move your money into your account. I'll just say it that way. So the one good thing about money being left in your quantum account is nobody can see it but you, unless you let somebody else see the screen. Nobody knows how much you have. in there. Now, in conjunction with that, banks, was it yesterday? Yesterday, which was Monday, the 31st, yesterday was the day of what they're saying is called digitalization with the banks. Digitalization is designed where the banks are no longer going to be able to see. This is the theory of it. I can't prove it yet, but this is what it's supposed to be. Where banks will no longer be able to see your account balance in your bank accounts. It's your money in your accounts, and they won't be able to see the amounts that you have. And that's really good in case that you move millions and billions of dollars into your bank account, like your Wells primary or secondary accounts, or another bank that you got tied in, that only you can see the balance that you have. Now, I think it's a little bit unusual, but if that's what it is, that's what it is. And I said, well, if the banks are not supposed to use our money to make money. They're not supposed to use our money. I said, well, how are the banks supposed to make money if they can't use our money to do it? And the answer came back that they are going to offer financial services, which I'm sure they'll offer some specialty services for us that are considered using premier banking with Wells, basically high net worth individuals. And that would include, I'm sure it would include setting up of trusts. There'll be a charge for that, I guess. Used to be thinking they'd do a certain amount of those for free, but I think now they're going to be desperate to make money. So the other thing, so that you don't feel too bad about the banks, the bank will pick up decimal point 0.025%. That's 25 thousandths of 1%. 0.025% on our transactions. And the person that helps us in the redemption center will also pick up 0.025% to work with us at the time of the exchange. And it doesn't really come off our side of the equation, which is kind of weird. It doesn't supposedly to come off of our balance. So they'll be making money from us that way on the exchange. It won't be a ton of money. You hardly recognize it, but after you do a whole group for a week or two of Zim holders and high currency holders, it turns into real money fast. All you have to do is look at the value of the Zim. I mean, when you see a 10T or a 50T or a 100T node, and you know that if you only had one 100T node, and you took 0.025% of that, well, that turns into real money. It really does. So banks are going to do that. They'll make some money on financial services. They are going to get into the real estate game. They're going to make money on real estate. They're going to make money on insurance. And they're also going to make money buying and selling crypto coins. And remember, the 5 cryptocurrencies that are all gold backed are going to be, if you have it and you want to sell it at the time of your exchange, they will be able to pay you for the crypto coins, XRP, Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Solana, and Cardano. Those are the 5 coins. And of course, Bitcoin, I believe, has by far away the highest value per coin, if I remember right. So they will be able to transact that at the redemption centers. But the redemption centers will then sell those coins to the banks. So the banks will have a way to transact and make some money with crypto coins. And that's just real recent, like the last day or so, that has been decided upon. So a lot of the bank branches that we have now have already turned into high wealth management type branches. Some have closed, some have been sold to other banks. There's going to be a little shakeup in the banking system as we transact and go into this new world. But we've got the QFS system, we've got the Starlink satellite system, we have the blockchain technology, and we have the fintech system. There are all these systems that are integrated now and give you an opportunity to transact using your you don't have it yet, but the Q phone. You're supposed to be able to transact using the Q phone, which will be really interesting to make that happen. You're supposed to get a Q phone if you are a Zim holder. Zim holders are given the Q phone, and I have no idea what carrier we're going to be using, or if there's a monthly charge for it, how it's going to run, but they are true satellite phones connected to the Starlink satellite system. And you guys might remember when Elon Musk was asked by President Trump to help out people that were stranded in North Carolina with satellite phones. Those were phones that could be connected through T-Mobile to the Starlink satellite system. So I don't know if T-Mobile is going to be the carrier for the Q phone or not. But in that particular case, Elon worked it out with T-Mobile to work those phones for the people that didn't have cell service or didn't have hard lines in Western North Carolina, and maybe other areas. But I just know Western North Carolina is the one that was seemingly the worst hit by that flooding. And there have been fires that have come in after the floods. It's just the weirdest thing that we can imagine. And it appears that these fires, for the most part, were not naturally occurring from lightning strikes, but rather deep state fires that were set in South Carolina behind Myrtle Beach, all the way over in that area, that South Carolina area that's kind of wooded and stuff behind Myrtle Beach, behind the golf courses and water, what some of the courses I remember. There's so many, Barefoot Landing, those golf courses there, and some of those back behind there. I played some of those courses. I haven't played all of them. There's quite a few of them still in Myrtle Beach. Something to put on the bucket list. I've got probably 15 of those courses that I've played. I need probably to play another 30 or 40 of them. So that is sort of where that stands on the whole banking perspective and the coins and so on. The U.S. Now let's say the tomorrow being Liberation Day, as President Trump has called it. What are we going to be liberated from or liberated to? It seems, as what I'm hearing, is the Doge payments, which start Wednesday, which is the 2nd, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those 3 days is when they're supposed to go out. Some may go by paper check, which would be drawn on the U.S. Treasury. So you shouldn't have any trouble negotiating it, even though there'll be decent-sized checks. But most of us will get it by direct deposit. My understanding is even if you're not on Social Security, but you have a bank account, it will go by direct deposit to your bank account. They say, well, how do they know it? They know it. They know your bank account by your Social Security number. Okay? So that's how that will come. What else is happening? Could we get an announcement about NESARA and JSARA tomorrow on Liberation Day? Could we? I think it's quite possible. That's what I'm hearing. Yes, we should. Now, we know the USN is part of NESARA. We know that tax relief, and I mean no federal income taxes, no state income taxes, is part of NESARA. But I believe some aspects of NESARA will take a while to roll out. I don't think they'll bring it all out in 1 or 2 or 3 days. I think they have to let us get used to 1 or 2 things before they bring everything else out. But our asset-backed currency, the USN, and the USTN, United States Treasury notes, the actual physical paper money, our new money, is out already, and redemption centers have it, and our banks have it, the USTN, in the drawers, in the vaults, ready to put in the drawers, but we don't know exactly when that's going to happen. When we go for our exchanges, we should be able to get the new USTN currency, which is asset-backed, primarily with gold, but other assets. We should be able to get some of that at the redemption center. And they've changed the amount that they would like us to take, but they're trying to hit the redemption centers with more to make sure that they have enough. Okay? Because people are going to want to have the new. It doesn't matter that we have a ton of it, but we could get $2,000 or $3,000 of it without a problem, I think. I think that's kind of where they want us to be, somewhere around no more than $3,000. You don't want to become a target for robbery or anything like that. So you don't take too much. You can always get more at the bank later on. Let's see. All right, let's talk about what else should, I have to say should, be happening. What we're hearing from two separate sources is, and these are pretty strong sources, is that we should receive our notification by email from the Wells Fargo servers tomorrow by or around noon. Tomorrow, by or around noon tomorrow. And that would bring the day tomorrow into a whole new light for us, because then we would set our appointments, and maybe we don't exchange starting tomorrow, but maybe we start exchanging on Charlie Ward's Thursday, because that looks like what it will be right now. I don't have absolute on that, but we know we've got at least 2, maybe 3 sources that are saying our numbers are supposed to come out tomorrow. I'd hoped to have had them today to put out on the call tonight, but that did not happen. So we may end up doing a celebration call on Thursday, and that would be celebrating the fact that we started and we have our numbers and we started exchanges. If it happens Wednesday, Thursday, then we would have a short celebration call on Thursday night.
Forwarded from Emil Elston. And this was from TNT Tony. Guys, you have a choice. You can listen to me or you can listen to effing idiots. The RV is complete. The lower D norms are out in Iraq. The banks have the rates. We're waiting for our start time. TNT Tony. Fear is not a social commodity. It is not a virtue. And it should not be glorified. Make no mistake, fear has been weaponized not only to turn you against your own natural self, but to turn you against others. It is anti-life. It is food for parasitic dark forces that desire not only to use this fear as their energy source, but also as a means to control and manipulate you.